thing. Any and all businesses can utilize a newsletter. Um, Education. So if you're releasing blogs, no matter what industry you're in, you're a specialist, you are an authority in your industry. So you might be writing certain articles, informing your clients, your future clients on certain topics within your industry. If you're an e-commerce owner, recovering carts is a really good one. I'm sure we've probably seen those emails before. We'll go to a website, we'll fill up a cart, we'll end up aborting the transaction and checkout process. We'll leave, and then we'll check our email later, and we'll notice an email that says, hey, you didn't complete your checkout. And then when you click on that email, then it's got a little button there to shoot you back to your shopping cart so you can fulfill that sale. Another one is boost social following. So if you're investing a lot of time on Facebook, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, if everyone's marketing plan is a little bit different. So if you're trying to funnel people to your Facebook page to create more awareness there, and then from your Facebook page to your website, email is just a really good way to also raise brand awareness for your brand, and then also your social media. So the first rule of email marketing is to be honest. There are laws and regulations for email marketing. One law is the Can-Spam Act. You do have to follow rules there, and you do have to be in FTC compliance. If you market to people in Europe, they do have their own law out there too. I forgot what their abbreviation is. But for us, it's the Can-Spam Act and FTC compliance. So basically, you want to be honest about who you're sending it to, who you are. You want to be honest about the subject line. You don't want to say in the subject line, we give things away for free, and then they open up the email and you're asking for a sale, right? So you just want to be consistent and honest. And you want to have your postal address at the very bottom of any and all emails that you send out. That way they can contact you, and you want an opt-out. So people have the right to receive your emails, but they also have the right to not receive your emails. So make sure that opt-out option is at the very bottom so people can just click that button, and then they're instantly opted out of the email address, out of the email list that you have. So some stats that I decided to put together. So this first one right here is pretty interesting. It's email usage in the U.S. by age 2017. I know that seems a little old. That's 3 years old, but I have read a couple of articles from 2020, and that basically say the same thing. So it's really interesting that we see across the board that everybody's using email. Nothing is changing with email. No matter what age, there's obviously more of a differentiation in the boomer generation, but everybody in the middle is right in the 90s. Everyone's getting an A in this class. So it's definitely a worthy place to put some effort in. Now, when it comes from engagement, email versus social media. So obviously the common perception is that everybody is on social media all the time. But how many of us are just scrolling through social media? Right? We're just seeing all the content. We're just going through. And there's not a whole lot of engagement. There's a less chance of engagement there versus when I get something in my email, it's a little more personal. So I'm opening it up, and if there's a call to action there and it's relevant to who I am personally, there's a higher chance that I'm actually going to engage with that email, and I'm going to click on something in that email. Through a CTA, a call to action button, which was something that we discussed in a webinar 2 weeks ago, I believe. So it's definitely relevant, and it's definitely good for engagement. Now this even surprised me, right? When I was researching to do this, I definitely believe in email marketing, but I didn't know that people were using it so much still, right? And this pie chart just kind of shows it for you. The first check of the day still falls around 58% email. People are checking their email first before they're checking their social media, and then second is search engines, I guess. But I just thought that was really interesting. More than half the pie demonstrates that people are checking their email first, so that's pretty important. And then right here, when it comes to how U.S. consumers want to receive regular updates and promotions from companies that they care about, 60% are saying that they want to receive it in an email. That's really insightful right there. I know I definitely agree with that, because the thing is with social media, as important as it is, a lot of those updates and those information, it can be like, because we follow so many people on Twitter. We have thousands of friends on Facebook sometime. And on Instagram, we might be following 1,000 people there, and we got 500 plus connections on LinkedIn. So information gets lost. And one way to avoid that important information getting lost is sending that personalized email. I know I go through all of my emails, as long, not the spam folder, but I'm definitely going through the regular inbox, and I'm going through each one of them personally, deciding which ones to open. And, I rarely ever miss any emails. Maybe I don't get emailed enough just yet. But I definitely make it through all my emails. So now we're going to go through some tips. So if you wanted to get started today, tomorrow, in the next week, in the next month, when it comes to email marketing, you definitely want to send those email blasts in the morning between 5 and 6 a.m. People are waking up between 5 and 6 a.m. And so when they wake up and you send it at that time, your email is going to be at the top, versus if you sent it out at, let's say, 8 a.m., people are already in the office, they're already at work, and emails start stacking on top of each other, and now your email's lost. So before people go to work, 5 to 6 a.m., and after people, leave work and they get home, between 7 p.m. and 9 p.m., when they're checking those last email updates before going to bed, those are some really important times. The subject line, this is an area of debate. I prefer short and specific. Just because if you make that subject line too long, people might not read it, or it might get covered up. So I like them short and specific. And if I have to make it longer, it's justified, because it has to be long to be specific, if that makes sense. Another good tip is making sure that it's a multi-step campaign. So make sure that it's not just one email blast that goes out about an offer. Make sure that it's 4 email blasts that go out about an offer, because statistics show that conversion rates continue to increase based upon how many steps there are in that campaign. So for example, a 1-step, 1 email campaign will have a conversion rate of, 0.3% to 0.4%, and then a 4-step, 4 email campaign will be closer to 1%. So that's definitely important. Definitely work on perfecting your content. Test and try it. Everyone has a different audience base. Not everybody is, emailing sports enthusiasts. You know what I mean? If you're a restaurant owner, you're probably emailing people who are probably interested in entertainment and food, right? So you want to make sure your content is relevant. Test it, try it, see what works, what doesn't work. Some things will flop. Some people, some ideas won't flop, right? And another idea is to segment your lists, which is basically categorizing certain subscribers, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Now, please do not spam. I know it's kind of a fine line, especially when we're requesting people and we're trying to get our word out there and build awareness. But an important thing to consider is that the reader is priority, right? We don't want to annoy our reader. We want to ask ourselves, what is it that they want? What is our buyer persona? What type of person asks for services or products from us, right? And when we send them an email and when we're asking them to do something, what's in it for them, right? There's got to be something in it for them. Either it's a free offer, or free information, free sources, a discount. There's got to be a reason for it. Again, work on the content. Perfect it. test it out, see whether it's short copy or long copy that works better. So short copy, 250, 500 words, maybe 650. Long copy is closer to 1,500 words. So different lengths work for different audiences. Some people like to incorporate videos and pictures. Actually, most people incorporate pictures in their emails these days. Some people do put in videos because it makes it a little bit more personal. But it's not a cookie cutter thing. We all have different audiences. We all have different clients and customers and buyer personas. And we have to make sure our content is tailored to that audience. And then when you're doing newsletters, make sure that the side column in your newsletter, utilize that space wisely. So you can use other call to action spots there, asking them to click this or check out this article or go to this Facebook page. And, so utilize all the space that you have available there. Another thing is get creative. Do not be afraid to get creative. So there's a couple little categories. First one is FOMO, fear of missing out. So you could put up a title like subject line, you don't want to miss this, right? I'm appealing to this person's fear of missing out on a great deal, a great event. You can appeal to a person's greed, right? You've never gotten a better deal before. Everyone wants to save money. Everyone wants to get a good deal. You can appeal to vanity. Look like a Hollister model in 30 days. Lose 10 pounds in 2 weeks. Get six-pack abs before summer. You can try to be funny. This is one that I actually used recently. Lions, tigers, in marketing. Oh my, right? That's an appeal to humor, of course, but it's from The Wizard of Oz. And I seen another one. Another example was "As You Wish," which is a quote from The Princess's Bride. So it strikes a chord with us, and we want to open. We like humor too, because a lot of times things are really serious, and sometimes it's nice to see something that loosens things up a little bit. Not everything has to be proper all the time. Curiosity, right? If you're a lawyer who specializes in civil lawsuits, corporate lawsuits, 5 civil lawsuits, $5 million in settlements. Boom, that's a very specific title. If I'm a person who's looking to sue my competitor down the street because he stole some information from me, I think that would be, I would probably click on that because I'm trying to sue for damages. You know what I mean? So, and I'm curious on, how that happened in these 5 situations. Another one. So getting started. So again, if you want to get started, you need to choose your service. So if you're going to do it in-house, you need to find a software program, platform that can do that for you. I'm like, you're still going to have to put in the work and learn how to do it, but basically you're going to need a service to do it. Otherwise, you're going to have to hire a marketing agency. We do that here at Reedermedia. So that's the first place to start. Next, you want your audience, you want your lists, but you want to segment them. So for example, if you're a business-to-business company, and but you serve everybody, right? You do anything from technology to construction to medical. You want to segment those 3 audiences, right? Because one piece of content is probably not going to attract all 3 people, or 3 audiences. You want to personalize it. You want to automate this email campaign, and you also want to use templates. So segmenting, again, you want to do it by place, right? Businesses in San Diego have different problems than businesses in LA, than businesses in Atlanta, Georgia, New York City. So you want to segment it by place, language. If you're going global, you got to change the language if you're going to market in a different country. You can also segment by funnel level, and what I mean by funnel is the sales funnel. So you're going to send out different emails for those who are on the awareness level, those who are on the interest level, and those who are borderline going to make a decision, right? And industry, like we talked about, and then job title. So obviously we're going to address our CEOs a little bit differently than we're going to address our managers. CEOs are typically busier people. They don't want to see long subject lines. They don't want to see, essays of email content. They just want the brief message, make it short, make it sweet, tell me what you want, sort of thing, versus managers might have a little bit more time to read your content and get a little more informed on what it is and what you do. Another thing is automation. So make sure that your lists are integrated with your forums. So you don't have to manually put in new subscribers. There's definitely a way to integrate it. Schedule blasts to those who sign up to your forums. So have it so everyone signs up for this forum today, and then have it so a certain email is scheduled to go out to them either immediately upon signing up, or maybe Monday, whenever you decide it, whatever your plan is. Set up campaign notifications for unsubscribes and form submissions. So you want to stay on top of who is unsubscribing from you and who is actually being added to your list. Now, make sure you don't flop. Make sure it's good copy. Make sure that it's responsive for mobile and tablet. A great example is last week I was putting together an email template, and I was really proud of it. I thought it looked beautiful. It was awesome. So I sent out a test email, and my colleague says, hey, this takes forever to load, and you can't read some of the text. And he was on mobile and I was on desktop. So that's really important. So I had to go back, I changed the template, I changed the media, so then it would just load faster and you could actually read what was on it. So CTA buttons, call to action buttons, make sure that you have those on your email. Like, the email is there for a reason. We want them to call us, we want them to go to our website, we want them to check out our social media, we want them to fill out a form, whatever it might be. Make sure you got good content, good images, avoid spam folders. So there's definitely a way to track if you've just been getting spammed all the time. Make sure that you remove inactive subscribers. That's important because if you're sending emails to inactive subscribers, eventually you'll get caught and you'll get, it basically penalizes your sender's score and your IP reputation. Excuse me. And be a friend, write to one person, be persuasive. So I know that when we're sending out an email to 3,000 people, it's hard to think about one particular person because we are sending to 3,000 people or maybe 500 people, but it's important to be personal, and pretend like you're talking to one person, not to all 3,000 people. It's not a stadium, but you're trying to make a connection between you and one other person. And like I said, preview and test. Like I said, I almost sent out an email campaign yesterday, but I preview and test it with my colleagues. They send me feedback and I find out what's wrong with it. So that could have been a disaster if I sent it out to everyone I was supposed to send it out to. So that's why we preview and test before we send out our campaigns. So now we got to ask, who are we going to email? Are we going to do cold lists or are we going to do warm lists? Now, warm lists are definitely preferred. They're people that have already opted in with you. They know your brand. They've already engaged because, again, they've opted in with you. They're interested because they've probably visited your website. They filled out the form. They want to have the newsletter. And some of them are probably already quote-unquote fans. So they're reading your emails, but they're probably following you on social media as well and keeping track of what you're doing there. On the other hand, cold lists still are, they can be effective, but they're a little bit risky because sometimes they're unreliable. You can go buy a list that basically already has a lot of unresponsive or undeliverable emails on that. So basically, you have a bunch of contacts that don't work. And the rule of thumb is too is, you know, good lists typically are not for sale. If I have a list that converts, I'm definitely not going to sell it to another company because it's already working for me. And so it doesn't happen as frequently. They don't know you. They're not familiar with their brand. You might come off as being annoying. And there's this thing called honeypot email addresses, and which basically ruin your sender score and IP address reputation, kind of like what we were talking about earlier. So honeypots and spam traps are basically old addresses or fake addresses designed to receive emails from spammers. So, for example, if I have an email with Gmail and it's kyle@gmail.com, I become inactive and Gmail closes my account, but then later on reopens it, and they basically create data from all these other email addresses that are inactive but still receiving newsletters and promotions, and that's going to bring your sender score down. So that makes the difference between your email campaign ending up in the inbox or ending up in the spam folder. So it's really important. If you ruin that sender score, it could take, you know, a couple weeks to a couple months to repair that score and be back in good favor with all of the email companies like Gmail, Hotmail, Outlook, Yahoo, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, avoid being blacklisted again. So you want to make sure they keep track of those things like we were talking about. Make sure you're not sending to inactive addresses. Get rid of those. And you want to monitor your complaints. So if you're getting a bunch of complaints, you're probably sending content to the wrong types of people. And those complaints are going to ruin your chances of actually getting in the inbox. Now regulate the volume of your emails. It's common opinion that if you're sending 200 emails today, 3,000 tomorrow, 2,000 the day after, 5,000 the day after that, right? You know, up and down, up and down, up and down, it looks bad. So you want a steady flow that keeps going up gradually over time. And when it comes to spam reporting, I know I've definitely reported lots of emails as spam. So basically the ratio that you want is for every 1,000 emails you send out, only one should be reported as spam. That way you're going to save your reputation. You want to also check on your bounce rate. Bounce rate basically means that your email went out to an email address that doesn't exist, and then it came back. That's a bounce rate. And so the more bounces that you have, the worse you are off. And you also want to check your accepted emails. Obviously, if all your emails are accepted, that's good. You're on the right track. And you also want to check your sender score, right? So just make sure you're checking on that regularly to make sure that you're not getting penalized. Because if your email campaigns are failing, maybe your sender score is low. And you're going to spam instead of people's inboxes, front and center. So last but not least, if you want to go ahead and use a warm list instead, but you don't know how to start building a warm list, first and foremost, you need a website. So you're going to use your website to basically gather those email addresses. You're going to have forms on the website, but what's also useful is using pop-up forms. So once the user is there for 30 seconds, it can pop up. So you can have that pop-up show up maybe once, maybe twice during the user experience. We talked about this 2 weeks ago during our website webinar. So that's one way to do it. Make sure that you're offering a great deal. It can't be a mediocre deal. It's got to be worthwhile, right? There's got to be something in it for the customer. Other free content, so newsletters, guides, ebooks, you know, you could do consultations, you could do BOGO deals, you know, anything like that. Promote on social media, right? You could put a link up on Facebook saying, hey, sign up for our newsletter today. And then they're going to click on that. They'll get sent over to a form. They'll fill it out, and then you got their email. You can create a contest. You can make emails shareable with a CTA button. So call to action button. So you send out an email to your subscribers list and you say, hey, share this on Facebook. So they can click on that, they can share it on Facebook, and then their friends can see it. And then maybe their friends click on that, sends them over to a landing page, says, hey, sign up for our newsletter, right? And maybe they'll sign up for the newsletter. So that's another way. Now, less is more. You want to make the initial contact as small as possible, like as easy as possible. So oftentimes I sign up for all different types of newsletters, whether it be professional or for the hobbies that I have. All it asks is for my name and my email. And then later on down the road, they might ask me for a little bit more information, right? They'll say, hey, sign up for this today. And I click on that, and now they want my name, my email, my phone number, and the business that I work for, right? So, but initially they only asked for my name and email. But then once I start engaging with them, I'm probably more likely to give them more information because I already trust them. I'm building that relationship with them. So anyways, that is the end of our presentation. If you have any questions, you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask it, or you can type it up in the chat section and we will try to answer them to the best of our ability.